The paper cup in her hand had gone cold an hour ago, and the Starbucks logo was peeling where her thumb kept rubbing it, like she could erase what today meant. Her phone wouldn't stop vibrating against her thigh, each buzz another reminder she couldn't afford to be here, not really. Backstage at the Midtown Arts Center in Atlanta, the air smelled like hairspray, warm lights, and nervous sweat. Then the door opened and he walked in like the room belonged to him. He was the kind of famous singer people called legend even when they didn't mean it, wearing a black jacket that looked too clean for a rehearsal hallway. He didn't need to raise his voice. Everyone leaned in anyway. "All right," he said, glancing at the clipboard like he already knew the ending. "Where's the girl with the big voice?" Naomi's stomach dropped. She stood up too fast, her chair scraping loud enough that a few heads turned. Her palms were damp. She wiped them on the sides of her thrift store dress and forced herself to step forward. He looked her up and down in a way that didn't feel like looking. More like sorting. "So you want to sing," he said. "Solo?" Naomi nodded, throat tight. "Yes, sir." He smiled like it was a joke only he got. "No track," he added, and the room made a small sound, a collective inhale. "No harmonies. No safety net. Just you. Let's hear what you're really working with." Naomi's phone buzzed again, and in the quick flash on her screen she saw it, low balance alert. Her mother's name floated at the top of the notifications too, a missed call from 15 minutes ago. Naomi swallowed hard. She could feel her own heartbeat against the thin skin of her wrist, like something trapped. "Now," he said, taking one step back as if he didn't want to catch whatever she might drop. "Go ahead." Naomi walked onto the stage alone, the lights bright enough to blur the faces. Somewhere in the dark, a camera phone lifted. Her mouth was dry. She heard the soft click of someone starting a recording. She heard him chuckle, just once, like a dare. She put a hand on the mic stand to steady it, but really she was trying to steady herself. The metal was cold. She took a breath so deep it hurt, and for 1 second, her mind went white. Then she started to sing. At first it was quiet, the kind of quiet you risk when you don't know if anyone will stay. Her voice was not loud in the way people expected loud. It was clear. It carried. It sounded like somebody telling the truth when they were tired of being polite. She felt the first notes settle into place, like her feet finding ground. She let the melody rise the way it always rose in her head when she was on the bus, staring out the window, pretending the world couldn't see her. She let it climb. She let it stretch. And when she hit the high note, the one she'd been scared of all week, it landed clean and full, hanging in the room so steady it made the air feel different. The little laugh from backstage stopped. Naomi opened her eyes. She could see his face now, just barely, and the smile wasn't there anymore. 3 days earlier, Naomi had been standing at the sink in their apartment, washing a single pan because it was the only thing she'd cooked in all week. Their place was on the south side, not far from the highway, where the walls always carried a faint shake from the trucks at night. She was 20 years old and already felt older than she wanted to admit. Her mother, Denise, sat at the tiny table with a stack of envelopes spread out like a deck of cards. She wore her scrubs even at home because she was always too tired to change. Her hair was pulled back tight, and there was a line between her eyebrows that never fully left anymore. "I'm not saying don't go," Denise said, tapping one envelope with her finger. "I'm saying we need to be smart." Naomi kept scrubbing, even though the pan was already clean. "It's a workshop," she said. "It's 1 day. And if I do good, they pick people for the showcase." Denise exhaled, slow. "And the workshop costs money we don't have." Naomi didn't answer right away because the truth had too many sharp corners. She'd been saving tips from her job at a coffee shop near Piedmont Park, folding the bills into a little wad in her sock drawer like that could make it safe. But then the power bill hit higher than usual, and Denise's hours got cut for a week when the hospital changed scheduling again. The sock drawer got lighter. Naomi turned off the water. "I already paid," she said softly. Denise looked up, and Naomi saw a flicker of something there. Not anger exactly. More like fear that had learned to act like anger. With what? Denise asked. Naomi shrugged like it didn't matter, like she hadn't skipped lunch shifts just to avoid buying food, like she hadn't walked past people eating outside and told herself the hunger was just a feeling she could ignore. I'll make it back, Naomi said. I can pick up more shifts. Denise's eyes moved across Naomi's face like she was trying to read the part Naomi never said out loud. Baby, she said, and her voice softened on the word. I'm proud of you. You know I am. But I don't want you chasing something that keeps taking from you. Naomi wanted to laugh and cry at the same time. It doesn't take, she said. It's the only thing that feels like it gives me something back. Denise didn't respond right away. She stared at the envelopes, then pushed them into a neater pile, like order could fix what money couldn't. Just don't let anyone play with you, she said finally. People like to test you. They like to see if you'll fold. Naomi tried to act like she wasn't already folding every day, just in different ways. She'd been singing since she was little, but not the way people picture it, not on stages with spotlights. She sang while cleaning. She sang quietly in the shower so the neighbors wouldn't bang on the wall. She sang on the bus with her headphones in, mouthing the words like prayers. At open mics, she kept her shoulders tense and her eyes on the floor, because attention felt like heat. She'd learned early that some people listened with their ears, and some people listened with their assumptions. The second kind were the hardest. They had a way of smiling while deciding what you were allowed to be. When Naomi got the email about the workshop, limited slots, special guest mentor, networking opportunity, she stared at the screen for a long time. Not because it was fancy. Because she could already hear the voice in her head telling her she didn't belong. That voice sounded like every sideways comment she'd ever gotten, every "you're so articulate" said like surprise, every time someone asked what she really sang, like her voice had a category it was supposed to stay in. Still, she clicked confirm. Now, back in the present, standing under stage lights with a famous man watching her like she was an example, Naomi felt that old voice rise up again. It told her she was being set up. It told her people loved a story about someone failing. It told her to protect herself by shrinking. But her own voice was already in the air, steady and real, and she realized something as she sang the next line. This wasn't about impressing him. This wasn't even about winning. It was about refusing to disappear. And somewhere in the dark, that camera phone kept recording, catching the exact moment Naomi's face changed from fear to focus, and catching the way the famous singer's expression tightened like he hadn't expected her to survive the test. When she finished the final note, the room stayed silent for one heavy second, like everyone forgot what they were allowed to do next. Then Naomi's phone buzzed again. This time, it wasn't an alert. It was a new text from a number she didn't recognize, and the first words on the screen made her chest go cold. The message sat on Naomi's screen longer than it should have, glowing pale blue against the dark of the stage. She didn't open it right away. She stood there while a few people finally started clapping, the sound unsure, scattered, like they were checking if it was allowed. The famous singer nodded once, short and stiff, then turned away without saying anything else, already talking to someone near the wings. Just like that, the moment was over. Naomi walked off stage with her legs feeling hollow, like she'd left something important under the lights. A production assistant gently took the mic from her hand and pointed her toward a folding chair against the wall. Naomi sat down and stared at her phone again. She told herself to breathe before tapping the message open. Unknown number, you okay? That was intense. No name. No context. Just concern, plain and unexpected. Naomi frowned, then glanced around. Most people were busy packing up, whispering, laughing a little too loudly like relief. No one was looking at her directly. She typed back before she could overthink it. I think so. Who is this? A few seconds passed. Her heart sped up like she'd said too much. Then another buzz. Marcus, I was running. Sound, I didn't mean to distract you. Naomi let out a breath she didn't know she'd been holding. Oh, okay. Another pause. You didn't deserve that, by the way. Her fingers hovered over the screen. She thought of Denise's words about people testing you. She thought of how easy it was to mistake pity for kindness. Deserve what? Marcus replied slower this time. Being put on the spot like that, he does that sometimes. It's not about music. Naomi swallowed. She stared at the scuffed floor, the tape marks still there from where she'd stood. It felt like a joke. Yeah, Marcus typed, but not on you. She didn't answer right away. She watched as the famous singer walked past, laughing now, his voice loud and loose like nothing unusual had happened. He didn't look at her. That stung more than if he had. A woman about Naomi's mom's age sat down beside her, adjusting a tote bag full of sheet music. You did good, she said quietly, not smiling too hard. Really good. Naomi nodded. Thank you. The woman leaned closer. Don't let them rush you out. People noticed. Then she stood and walked away before Naomi could ask her name. Naomi's phone buzzed again. If you want, I can send you the clip Marcus wrote. Someone got the whole thing. Naomi's chest tightened. The idea of seeing herself like that, vulnerable and exposed, made her stomach flip. But another part of her, smaller and braver, was curious. Okay, she typed send it. The video came through a minute later. Naomi didn't press play right away. She lowered the volume all the way down, then finally tapped the screen. She watched herself walk onto the stage, shoulders hunched, eyes careful. She saw the way her hands shook for a second before settling. Then she watched her own face change as she started singing, watched something inside her lift its head. Halfway through, she turned the sound on. Her voice filled the cheap phone speaker, not perfect, not polished, but honest. She saw now what other people might have seen. The control. The risk. The refusal to soften the edges. She paused the video before the end, heart pounding. The famous singer's face was just visible in the background, his smile gone, his mouth pressed into a thin line. Naomi locked the screen and leaned her head back against the wall. Her eyes burned, but she didn't let the tears fall. Not here. When the workshop finally wrapped, Naomi stepped outside into the late afternoon heat. Atlanta traffic hummed nearby, horns and engines mixing into a steady noise. She pulled out her phone and called her mom. Denise answered on the second ring. Hey baby, everything okay? Naomi hesitated. I sang, she said. There was a pause. Just that. No, Naomi said, and surprised herself with a small laugh. Not just that. She didn't explain everything. She didn't talk about the mocking smile or the way her knees still felt weak. She told Denise about the high note, about how the room went quiet, about how someone said she didn't deserve to be treated like a test. Denise listened without interrupting. When Naomi finished, she said softly, I wish I could have been there. Me too, Naomi said. But I think I did okay. I know you did, Denise said. I always do. After they hung up, Naomi sat on the curb for a while, watching people hurry past with their own plans and problems. Her phone buzzed again. This time it was Marcus. If you need anything, he wrote, even just to talk. Naomi typed back. Thank you. She meant it more than she usually meant things. That night, lying in bed, Naomi replayed the day in her head. The fear. The silence. The sound of her own voice filling space she'd been told to stay small in. She thought about how close she'd come to not showing up at all. How easy it would have been to stay safe. Her phone lit up once more. A new email notification. She stared at the subject line until her eyes adjusted. Workshop follow-up. Her heart kicked hard against her ribs. She didn't open it yet. She set the phone face down on the pillow beside her and stared at the ceiling, listening to the distant highway. Part of her wanted to freeze time right there, before hope could turn into disappointment. But another part of her knew this feeling well. This edge between staying the same and risking change. And for the first time in a long while, Naomi didn't look away from it. Naomi opened the email the next morning while standing in line at the coffee shop, the smell of burnt espresso and syrup clinging to her clothes before her shift even started. Her phone trembled slightly in her hand, whether from nerves or too much caffeine she wasn't sure. The subject line felt heavier than it should have. Workshop follow-up. She tapped it once, then immediately wished she hadn't because now there was no taking it back. Thank you for participating yesterday. We appreciated your energy and willingness to step forward. We will be reviewing all performances and will be in touch. That was it. No exclamation points. No hints. Just polite distance wrapped in professional language. Naomi stared at the screen until the barista cleared her throat. Order, he said, already tired. Naomi ordered the cheapest thing on the menu and stepped aside, her chest sinking in a way she recognized too well. That familiar drop between expectation and reality. The place where hope goes quiet. The rest of her shift blurred together. She smiled at customers and asked how their day was, even when she didn't mean it. She wiped down counters and restocked cups, her body on autopilot while her mind kept drifting back to the stage. To the look on his face when she hit that note. To the way the room changed, just for a moment. On her break, she watched the video again, this time with headphones in. She noticed things she hadn't before. The way her voice shook slightly at the start. The way it steadied when she stopped thinking about how she looked. She noticed how alone she was on that stage, and how strong she looked anyway. Her phone buzzed. A text from Marcus. You holding up? Naomi typed back. Trying to. They didn't text much after that. Just short messages here and there. No pressure. No advice she didn't ask for. It was strange how comforting that felt. Like someone standing nearby without grabbing her arm. That evening, Denise came home later than usual, shoulders slumped, shoes kicked off by the door. Naomi was at the table with her laptop open, not really doing anything. You eat? Denise asked. Naomi nodded. I saved you some. Denise smiled weakly. You always do. They ate in quiet for a few minutes, the hum of the refrigerator filling the space. Finally Denise looked up. So, she said. What happens now? Naomi shrugged. Nothing. Maybe something. I don't know. Denise studied her face. That's the hard part, isn't it? Naomi nodded. Waiting makes everything louder. Later that night, Naomi lay awake listening to the highway and the distant sounds of other people living their lives. Her thoughts ran in circles. She told herself not to expect anything. She reminded herself that one moment didn't change everything. She reminded herself that talent didn't protect you from being overlooked. Still, she couldn't shake the feeling that something had shifted. Not in the world. In her. 2 days passed. Then 3. No email. No call. Naomi went to work, rode the bus, came home, repeated. She caught herself humming more, singing under her breath without checking who might hear. That scared her almost as much as it comforted her. On the 4th day, she got another message from Marcus. You free tonight? Naomi hesitated. She wasn't used to saying yes without a reason. Maybe why? There's a small open mic at a place near Edgewood. He wrote nothing fancy, just people. Her first instinct was no. Her chest tightened just thinking about it. That stage had been big. This felt small in a way that was somehow more exposed. I don't know, she typed. Marcus replied a minute later. No pressure, just thought of you. Naomi set the phone down and stared at the wall. She thought about the famous singer's smirk. She thought about how it felt to sing anyway. She thought about Denise's warning not to let people test her. Then she thought about how tired she was of waiting for permission. I can come, she typed, but I might leave early. That night, the room was half full. Low lights. Sticky floors. A chalkboard sign listing names. Naomi sat at a small table with a glass of water she kept forgetting to drink. She listened to people sing about breakups and bad days and hoped they were still figuring out themselves. When it was her turn, she stood slowly, her legs unsteady but familiar with the feeling now. There was no famous singer watching. No cameras. Just a handful of strangers and a mic that squeaked when she adjusted it. She sang a song she'd written years ago and never finished, about riding the bus home late and feeling invisible. Her voice wasn't perfect. She missed a note. She didn't stop. When she finished, the applause was warm and real. Someone whistled. Someone else nodded at her like they understood something. After, a woman approached her, smiling. "You got something," she said simply. "Don't sit on it." Naomi walked home feeling lighter than she had in days. Her phone buzzed as she reached her building. New email. Her hands shook as she opened it. "We would like to invite you to a smaller callback session, limited audience, no press details below." Naomi sank down onto the steps, heart pounding so hard it almost hurt. It wasn't a win. Not yet. It wasn't a promise. But it was real. She sat there for a long time, breathing, letting herself feel both the fear and the hope without choosing between them. For the first time, Naomi understood that the breaking point wasn't about being pushed down. It was about deciding whether she would keep standing up. The callback was held in a smaller room on the 3rd floor of the same building, the kind of space used for meetings and quiet rehearsals, not big moments. No stage lights. No banners. Just a few rows of chairs, a piano in the corner, and a table with bottled water that no one touched. Naomi arrived early and sat near the back, her hands folded in her lap like she was trying to keep them from drifting away. She wore the same dress as before. She almost changed her mind that morning, standing in front of the mirror and wondering if it made her look stuck. But then she thought about how hard she'd tried to be someone else in the past, how it never helped. So she left it on. There were only 6 singers this time. No crowd noise leaking through the walls. No cameras. The famous singer wasn't there. That alone made Naomi breathe easier, though she didn't admit it out loud. The panel was smaller too. 2 producers. A vocal coach. A woman with a laptop who didn't smile much. They called Naomi's name halfway through. She stood, feeling the familiar tightness in her chest, but it didn't freeze her the way it used to. She walked to the mic and waited. "What are you going to sing?" one of the producers asked. Naomi thought about it for a second. She had practiced something safer. Something she knew would land. But she kept thinking about that unfinished song from the open mic, the one that felt like telling the truth without asking permission. "My own," she said. The woman with the laptop glanced up, interested now. Naomi sang. Not louder than before. Not higher. Just steadier. She didn't aim for the note that impressed people. She aimed for the feeling that stayed with them after. When she finished, no one clapped. That made her heart jump. Then the vocal coach nodded slowly. "Thank you," she said. "That's enough." Naomi stepped back, pulse racing, and sat down. She didn't try to read their faces this time. She'd learned that trick too late to unlearn it now. After everyone sang, they were asked to wait in the hallway. Naomi leaned against the wall and checked her phone without really seeing it. A message from her mom sat unread. So did one from Marcus. The door opened. The woman with the laptop stepped out and read a few names. Naomi listened carefully, her stomach tight. Her name wasn't called. She told herself not to react. She told herself she'd expected this. She watched the others follow the woman back into the room, their faces a mix of nerves and hope. When the door closed, the hallway went quiet. Naomi stood there alone for a few seconds. Then she picked up her bag and walked toward the stairs. Each step felt heavier than the last, like her body was arguing with her decision to keep moving forward. She was halfway down when her phone buzzed. A call this time. She stopped on the landing and answered. "Hey," Denise said. "I was just thinking about you." Naomi leaned against the railing. "It's over," she said. "And," Denise said gently. Naomi swallowed. "I didn't make it." There was a pause. Naomi waited for the disappointment she was used to hearing in her own head. Instead, Denise said, "Are you okay?" Naomi thought about the small room, the quiet attention, the way her voice didn't shake. "Yeah," she said, surprised to realize she meant it. I think I am. That's what matters, Denise said. Everything else is just details. After they hung up, Naomi stood there a little longer, then went outside. The sun was starting to set, the sky streaked orange and gray. Cars moved past like they always did. Life didn't stop. Her phone buzzed again. This time it was an email. Thank you for coming in today. While we are not moving forward with you for this showcase, we would like to keep your information on file. Additionally, one of our producers is interested in discussing songwriting opportunities. Naomi read it twice. Then a third time. It wasn't the dream people talked about. It wasn't a headline. It wasn't a fix for her bills or a guarantee of anything. But it was real interest. Specific. Human. She sat on a bench outside the building and let herself smile, just a little. A small win. The kind that didn't announce itself but still changed the shape of the day. That night, she went home and cooked dinner while singing softly, not worrying if the neighbors heard. She sent Marcus a thank you message. She replied to her mom with a heart. She wrote down lyrics in a notebook she'd almost thrown away months ago. Nothing about her life looked suddenly different. She still had shifts to work. Still had rent to think about. Still had days when doubt would show up uninvited. But something inside her had settled. She understood now that being mocked hadn't broken her. Being ignored hadn't erased her. What mattered was that she kept choosing herself, even when no one was watching. And as she lay in bed listening to the highway, Naomi wondered how many other people were out there, holding back their voice because they were waiting for the right moment. She hoped they'd realize, the way she finally did, that the moment doesn't come first. The courage does.